How to make money with RetardMaxxing. Let me first talk about what exactly RetardMaxxing is, because you might be looking for ways of making money online or just different ways of making money, but you're like, what exactly is RetardMaxxing? So I want to explain what that is in case if you are new to the concept. And this term came from a popular creator on YouTube here known as Elijah Long. So I want to give credit to him for making this concept more mainstream, and now more people are talking about it. But basically what RetardMaxxing is, and this isn't meant to be derogatory in any way, so I'm not saying this as like an insult. I'm saying that RetardMaxxing basically is where you just take a bunch of action towards something, towards improving a specific area of your life without really thinking that much, right? So whereas a lot of people, what they will do is they will maybe they'll buy a course to learn something. For instance, they will, buy they'll invest in a mentor, to help with getting in better shape, right? Or they might invest in someone that will help them, pick up women, basically, right? Well, yes, you could learn a lot by learning from other people. However, oftentimes the best teacher is, of course, you going out there and actually taking action yourself, right? So you could learn everything that there is to know about dating, for example, but if you don't actually go out there and if you don't put yourself out there and you don't get any experience, then you're not really going to get anything from consuming all this content, right? So the best thing that you could do if you want to improve an area of your life is to take massive action. And the reason why I'm a huge fan of this and why I've decided that it makes a lot of sense to me is because in my case, I've spent the last 9 years, almost a full decade of my entire life just focusing on making more money outside of my job, right? And because of how, I've always been the type of person to where whenever I get into something, I lock in on that one thing so much to the point where I lose sight of other things, right? Like, for example, like if I get into a TV series, right, which I don't really watch like TV, but if I, start watching a series and I'm like really invested in that show, I will be so focused on that one thing to where I'll just be thinking about that nonstop. When I'm at work, when I'm, doing other things, I'll just be thinking about like, man, I can't wait to watch that show. And so it'll pretty much occupy my entire mind. And so that's the same with video games, it's the same with music, and it's also the same with working. It's the same with like creating content. Like when I get into a flow where I'm really interested in creating content, then I will lock in on this to the point where I will make multiple videos every single day. And, in my case, this is the second video of, I think, 4 videos that I'm going to film today. I might actually film more of them just because I like batching content. But, that's one thing that I've always had that, that habit of, I guess. Like, I just always get really into something. And so if you are the same way, let me know in the comments if you relate to that. I'd really be interested to hear, how many other people are like that. I'm sure it's probably more common than I'm assuming, but what I wanted to get at is when you are trying to improve an area of your life, then oftentimes the best thing that you could do is just take massive action, right? So what I wanted to get into when it comes to making money, right? I've invested into a lot of different courses over the years, right? I've bought into courses teaching, digital marketing, for example. I signed up to things talking about, drop shipping, Amazon FBA, and then I also got really big into content creation. So I bought maybe 6 or 7 different courses over the years on how to make money posting on YouTube, how to monetize TikTok, Instagram, and I learned from several different people. I bought way more courses than I should have. And the one thing that I've noticed every single time that I've bought into one of these programs is in the very beginning, I got really excited. Like I got pumped up thinking like, man, this is going to be the thing where I'm finally getting to get that next breakthrough. I'm finally getting to hit that next milestone. But oftentimes what happens is that excitement wears off usually after a week, right? And so one other thing that I've noticed when it comes to, learning about content creation, for example, right? And this could be for any area of life that you improve. Like if you decide to learn, how to get in better shape, right? And you learn from all these different people. One thing that you will likely notice is there is a lot of information out there that is often conflicting with each other. So going back to learning, TikTok, for example, right? I'll go through a TikTok course and it'll say, okay, if you want to get more views on your videos, you want to post shorter videos, right? That are, 5 seconds long, and you want to, post 5 of them per day. But then I will see another video on, that'll be suggested to me and it'll say like, here's why posting 5 times a day is actually hurting your account. So someone else will share a completely different perspective. And then now I've listened to 2 different people say the complete opposite thing. And then in my mind, I'm thinking like, I'm just overwhelmed thinking, who do I actually listen to, right? And so that is also one reason why I also don't believe in telling other people your goals or what you're going for. And that's especially if you are talking to people who have no experience doing what you're doing. So for example, one thing that I know holds a lot of people back, right, is you decide to go after something like you want to, make money online, for example, right? You want to start some sort of online business. And so maybe you tell your friends about it, family members, or maybe you might have some coworkers, at your job that you say like, hey, I'm looking to make extra money and I'm starting this new thing. Well, oftentimes what will happen is you will have someone tell you reasons why that's not a good idea, why that won't actually work. And here's why you should actually do this other thing instead, why I think this is actually more profitable. But oftentimes these people that try to give you this advice, they have zero experience doing what you're trying to do, right? And so if you ask someone that is successful in real estate, right? My grandpa, for example, was in real estate for over 50 years. He passed away in 2022, so about 4 years ago. But he did very well in real estate, right? And so there was one thing that I remember where I signed up to this like business opportunity type thing, this like sort of network marketing type deal. And then he called me up on the phone and saying like, oh, that's a total scam. Don't do that. That's not a way to make money. And so although I've always respected him, I've always respected his viewpoints. The thing that I've always kept in mind was he's not as focused on that industry compared to real estate, right? So if you ask someone who's successful in real estate, hey, what's the best way of making money? They're going to say real estate. If you ask someone what is the best way of making money, and if they sell cars for a living, then they're going to tell you, hey, sell cars, right? So everyone has their own perspective on how you should go through life based on their own experiences and based on what they're going for, right? So you have to figure out what resonates with you the best and then decide to go all in on that one thing. You could maybe take advice from maybe a few different people, but at the end of the day, you have to take action and, of course, do a bit of research, see what people are in your industry are recommending. And then you, of course, want to create your own routine that you follow every single day for moving forward at your goal, right? So as long as you make that your entire focus, then you will often get further ahead of like 99% of other people that are just overanalyzing every little thing. And so most people, they would much rather appear really smart but be broke rather than appear really dumb but then be super successful. And so that ultimately comes down to your work ethic and what you're willing to put into to, of course, get to that milestone, right? So that is what I wanted to share in this video, is the benefits of RetardMaxxing. And so that's basically what it is you are taking action every single day towards a specific goal. So in my case, when it comes to content creation, what I'm primarily doing, how I'm applying this concept to, something like this, for example, is I'm just hammering out videos endlessly, right? I think of a topic, I hit record, I speak for a couple minutes. There's very little editing at all. The only thing that I will maybe do with a video like this is I will put this video into a tool like Descript and just cut out any pauses that I might have had. But other than that, I do almost nothing to this video, to these videos, right? I just come up with a topic, I record it, post on YouTube, add a couple keywords in there. I don't really, do much thought into creating a thumbnail. And the reason why I have taken this approach when it comes to content creation is because no matter how much effort you put into a video, you never know how far it's going to get pushed out in the algorithm, especially if you are like a brand new channel and you don't have like a big following. It makes way more sense to just hammer out videos endlessly that are not perfect at all and just figure out what people respond to. And so once you figure out what gets you good results and you see a video that gets you significantly more views than the rest, then you could double down on that one topic. And so that is ultimately what will get you results quicker. It's just getting more data quicker. You got to get more no's, you got to get rejected more often until you get to that yes. And so this one concept goes for anything that you go after, right? It goes into getting in better shape. It goes for dating, for example. If you're like approaching women, basically, right? You're going to get rejected a bunch of times, but you will have someone that will say yes, and so that is, of course, the result that you are looking for, right? So that is the message I want to share. If you want to see more about how I'm using this to make money online and how you can as well, if you're looking to monetize free social media, then you could check out the school community that I have down below, and you could learn more about what I do. So that being said, share your thoughts down below, give us a thumbs up, and take care. All the best.